don't read those lines.
Yeah.
Or something along the lines. After, and I think the first page says something else like, put this book away or some shit like that. And then, there's all this demonic shit in it. Don't read those lines. And you read it, he deserves the beatdowns that he gets, bro.
I am not going to any cabin in the woods with you because you are Eric. You would get us
seriously
killed. Yes.
Seriously.
I would absolutely read from any book. It's like, don't read. I'm like, well, I have to read now. It's a chill, Don't tell me what to do.
Based on this motherfucker. It's insane, right? Art the clown.
I'm something different.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to another Modern Horror Movie Talk. I'm your host, Tyler Nichols, and we've got two guests today, Lance Velchek and John Fallon. How you guys doing?
Hey, I'm pretty good. Yourself?
Oh, not too bad. I got to see your guys' Exorcist Believer reaction. And as someone that saw that trailer in the theater, I will say the audience that I saw that with was all about that trailer. I think actually it premiered at Oppenheimer, especially when the music started coming in. And then when Ellen Bernstein came up, like the whole theater, I was like, what the heck? I can't believe so many people know The Exorcist. So I was happy about that. So
immortal classic. I mean, from generation to generation, the movie gets introduced because it's just never dies. And it's funny you mentioned that people went nuts when they saw Bernstein and people went nuts when they heard the music because they're ties to the original. People didn't go nuts about anything else, I'm assuming, because it looked flatter than Joan Jett under a bus. Yeah.
Yeah, very generic, very, very generic. I did like, though, that the one demon girl kind of looks like Regan a little bit.
Yeah.
That was about the only thing that I was a big fan of. But Exorcist aside, we got something important to discuss. What you guys drinking? Lance, we'll start with you.
I wouldn't.
No? Okay. John, we'll start with you.
I didn't have much in the fridge, so Cabernet, Sauvignon, that's it. Taking it light. What about yourself?
Well, I'm keeping up with my trend that I started last week in terms of, since I'm not drinking, I've got a little tincture of something very legal, and I'm going to put that in there and have a good little drink from that.
Are you going dry or what?
Yes, I've been having stomach issues, so I have been dry for the last month and a half at this point. So eventually I'll start up again, but it's just my stomach can't handle it.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
What about you, Lancey boy?
I have this here Medieval Times cup that I got. There's Medieval Times in the north suburbs of Illinois. I used to go to once in a while. It's filled with water. For only reason that I have no money and no alcohol. It's nothing, dude. There's nothing in the house. I got bitters. And it was like 50%. And I was like, that's an alcoholic move. I'm going to hold back.
Yes, please don't start drinking bitters for the alcohol.
Little sugar cubes. Yeah, there's nothing, man. There's nothing in the house.
It's like, I got this cup of Listerine and
some bitters and
start fermenting honey. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I mean, it's before payday.
End of the month. That's just how it works. But
yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing though we're covering today's film because we don't really even need a drink for it because you can go into this sober and have a great time. Because today we are talking about the Evil Dead remake. 5 friends head to a remote cabin where the discovery of a Book of the Dead leads them to unwittingly summon up demons living in the nearby woods.
I remember reading on JoBlo.com, far before I ever worked there, that the remake was getting made. And I remember, dude, I had a fit. It was just like a school kid. I was like, it's got to be stabbed. Why you do? Because, the Evil Dead's really important to me. It's like the first movie I remember ever seeing in theaters was Army Darkness. I remember renting Evil Dead 2 at the video store. It's like, I was like 8. And I was really, really grumpy. And then they're replacing Ash. This whole thing was just a shit show. And I was like, I'm not having this at all. And then the trailer came out and I was like, all right, maybe, she's cutting her tongue with the razor. I was like, maybe it'll have something. I saw it in theaters and I walked out. Dude, I had one of the best times of my life. This is the only reason I'm not a complete jerk about remakes is that once in a while you get an Evil Dead 2013.
Yeah, I agree. John, what about you?
Similar reaction when it was announced. And I remember Diablo Cody was hired it was announced she was going to rewrite the script. I don't know if she actually wound up rewriting the script, but I remember she was announced as rewriting the script. And they had said they were going to replace Ash with another actor. So much like Lance, I lost my shit. I'm like, fuck you, fuck this remake. you can't, Evil Dead is the original Evil Dead is the first horror movie I ever saw. It's a horror movie that sent me on my way to becoming a horror fan. So for me, it's sacrilegious, to even entertain to remake it. Replace Bruce Campbell as Ash. Come on, dude. It ain't going to happen. Somewhere along the lines of the development of the film, they changed their mind, thank God, and they didn't get another actor to play Ash. They just got a new character. And once I saw the Red Band trailer that came out, I was like, okay. And then I went to see it on the big screen, and I was floored. I fucking loved it. I loved it.
Same reaction to you guys. I was very trepidatious going into it because I am a big fan of the Evil Dead series, and remakes in particular at that time. I mean, I think we were just fresh off of like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, so it was not, it wasn't inspiring confidence. But then I feel like the articles on Joe Blow, there was a lot with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell being like, "Hey, we're still shepherding this. We're still involved." So that, I don't know, made me a little more at ease. And then that trailer completely sold me on it. So then obviously seeing the movie itself, I'm like, holy hell, that is how you do a remake. Because I even said it, Evil Dead remake at the beginning. I always refer to this as Evil Dead 2013 because like the Friday the 13th remake, it really just is another sequel. So
I agree.
There's just a lot in this movie to go over. But I think the one thing I want to talk about right at the beginning, because it's right at the beginning of the film, is my favorite line in the entire movie. And that is the
"I will rip your soul out, Daddy. I'll rip your soul out, you pathetic fuck!"
That is just the build up to it, where it's, I mean, the whole setup is you're expecting that this is an innocent girl that then is being essentially attacked by these people. The whole time it's like, okay, something's up. And she's just like,
"No, why are you saying these things, Daddy? Please, I just want to go home."
And then that line where the music drops and it's just, oh, perfect. So good. I even watching it this time, because I actually bought a new surround sound system specifically because we were doing this. I had been waiting to pull the trigger, but I knew I had to watch this movie. So it's like, okay, I need it for Evil Dead 2013. And there's a lot of really, really cool stuff that this movie does, but that scene in particular.
Are you watching the unrated cut?
Oh, no, I forgot there was an unrated cut. No, I did not. I did not. I watched the R-rated cut.
What is R-rated cut?
What's the difference between R-rated and unrated?
More like the gore stuff is extended a bit,
which is crazy to me because the R-rated version is like they go hard with this movie. It is extremely violent.
Credit the 2010s actually, because think about the Texas Chainsaw remake, which I actually like. I don't dislike that movie at all, but it's very dry. I know the original is dry, but that's when the remake actually is trying to be like a more of a slasher. But the 2010s, man, is when I feel like that was the first era where we're really cool with the gore. Outside of like the new French extreme genre and the torture genre, I felt like the 2010s was like we could have mainstream gore in this kind of movies. And dude, like John's mentioned the director's cut. Dude, I messed up. I bought the Blu-ray. And then like a week later, they announced the uncut version. So I was like, oh, I can't double dip, but I'm going to get it because even what I saw in theaters, the stabbing the needle, the cutting of the tongue, the missing face. It's like, dude, this is the unrated version. And there's more. I think that's awesome. Let's give credit because even now I think they're kind of look at Evil Dead Rise. That to me was a couple steps back in terms of gore.
Big time. And what I loved about the 2013 Evil Dead is that the bulk of the gore, to me anyways, looked practical. I didn't see VFX, other than fire now and then, the fire stuff. Yeah. You could see a bit, it was VFX, but the gore itself was really practical, so it carried a lot of impact. When the useless character, Natalie, she's hilarious, man. I don't want to hijack your show, bro, but, Natalie, who's like, at some point I forgot she was in the movie, and I see her in the back. Who's that broad in the back? Oh, it's that dude's girlfriend. I forgot. Yeah. But the scene when she cuts her arm, forget about it, man.
I didn't notice until this time too. This poor girl, because she knows them like the least she knows everyone involved in this the least, and yet she lasts like one of the longer amounts of anyone, where she's just the poor girl gets faked by Mia into going into the basement, where I'm like, oh, you don't deserve this. You should have gotten a different boyfriend.
Seriously.
That's the one that got her hand blown off, right?
Yeah.
That dies in the what's his name's arms. Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. She's beating the guy and she fucking blows her arm. She looks and turns around. And I think it is practical. If not, it's at least touched up. But it's just the blood and like ligaments are just pouring out of the hand and she falls over. I was like, that's cool. I'll give you that. Yeah. I mean, could we give a little credit to Eric? He deserves a lot because he fucked up and opened the book. But I noticed this last rewatch how it's almost comical. How he basically just keeps getting almost murdered and survives. Like he gets the worst. I mean, he deserves it in a way. But I kind of feel bad
in a way.
Well, he didn't know it was a demonic book. I mean, I open books all the time.
Dude, when the book says, don't read those lines.
Yeah.
Or something along the lines. After, and I think the first page says something else like, put this book away or some shit like that. And then, there's all the demonic shit in it. Don't read those lines. And you read it. He deserves the beatdowns that he gets, bro.
Yes. One of the great joys I have in life is watching this prick get tortured throughout the movie, because he is such an asshole for reading from that book. And I feel like he gets everything that's coming to him.
I just feel like I've read from weird books in my life, and I don't deserve all this. I
am not going to any cabin in the woods with you, because you are Eric. You would get us fucking killed.
Yes. Yes, I would absolutely read from any book. It's like, don't read. I'm like, well, I have to read now. It's a challenge, Don't tell me what to do.
First time watching with the surround sound, there was a lot that I noticed with the score. Like when they're actually first coming up to the cabin at the beginning, there's like these little hints of the like Evil Dead scary score that come in the background, and that's the first time I've ever noticed that before. So it's just I like the little details in this film.
Yeah, one detail I wish they had was the demon POV, the famous demon. But they didn't use the same sound design as the OG, and it's so, or Evil Dead 2 for that matter. It's so ingrained in my mind. Then to see the POV without the same sound behind it, the camera traveling and everything. It just lessened the impact of those shots for me.
Yeah,
I see that.
There's a lot less of them in this too. I didn't even think about that.
2, right? Or maybe 3.
I think 2. I remember 2 actually.
Yeah,
there's the one when the book, when Jared Leto, that's what I'm going to call him. Jared Leto reads the book. And the other one, I think it's with, what's her name? Mia, who was fantastic in the film, by the way, by Jane Levy. But
I absolutely want to talk about Mia, because she is my favorite part of the movie in terms of the characters. I think she is so good. And I know Lance is a fan, because this girl is just fucked up. And
yeah, of course.
I don't know, everything about her. She just seems so worn down. And I love that. I know Lance is a big fan.
Yeah, I like all my characters to be kind of worn down. Like smoking a cigarette with like a little bit of stubble, and be like, I was like the 3 days before retirement character. Like, it's my favorite type of archetype. And she has that at like her 20s, like a heroin addict. That's just great. She basically replaced Ash. And I agree with Fallon, is that them not calling her Ash or Ashley being a different character, even though she kind of turns into at the end, is perfect. And the fact that I like her as much as I do in a remake of a movie that means the world to me, I would put her up there. I put her up there as like an important part of the whole franchise.
Yes.
I wish we got more. But if you look at Twitter, or she did something, her and Fede Alvarez did not get along or something, because she was talking some shit. So I think that might have contributed to why we haven't seen her back in that series.
Yeah, she was talking a lot of shit in terms of, and just against horror in general. But I will say,
don't break my heart.
Well, I will say, I feel like she's come back on that a little bit. I think she knows where her bread is buttered. So,
well, okay. What did she say then? Because I knew about the director, because I don't know if they got along, but I didn't hear about the horror stuff.
The whole thing was rape in horror films. I don't have anything to say to you if you don't like that. Like, you can dislike stuff in horror movies. It's whatever.
But I was happy about that scene in this movie, that like they didn't shy away from that.
Yeah, it's so good.
The thorny branch, and then you get the other demon, and
she vomits the thing, and
I love it though. Yeah, and then we have the Sally, and the girl has like, she's in the woods, but the branches kind of encase her in this cool little circle. I was like, look at this.
I love how it's shot too, and like all the branches, they're like wet, and they have this like almost organic look to them, where it almost feels like a creature.
That wasn't in the script actually. That was that scene which is a callback to the rape, tree rape scene in the original. It wasn't in the script, and it was one of the producers, I think, Tappert. Is it his name?
Yeah,
Robert Tappert.
Yeah, that's it. And he said, no, we gotta put that in. We gotta put that in. So they slapped that shit in.
Married to Lucy Lawless.
Then he has more respect from me now.
Yeah. I was like, every time he even gets brought up, I always feel like it's just like cool stories of him. He just seems like one of the Evil Dead MVPs.
You were talking about before, like your favorite line, in the opening, and my favorite, and of course I can't say them verbatim, but my favorite moment is when Mia tells her brother,
You have to get me out of here.
the whole delivery with the beats and everything, and probably the most convincing, frightened as fuck face. Fuck, that didn't come out right, guys. I'm so sorry, but you know what I mean. Convincing a facial expression of utter fear mixed with her delivery. For me, it grabs me every time. I'm like, fuck, I feel that shit.
That scene is so well done, and narratively, it's so great because they set up before of, hey, we're putting our foot down. Mia is not, she's done this before where she's, ditches out and then it doesn't happen. We're putting our foot down, where then it's without that little scene, then when Mia's freaking out and wanting to go home, then you're just, I would just be like, what the heck are your friends doing? Why are they not listening to you? Well, that one line, it just makes it like, yep, this is serious. They need to make sure that she beats this addiction.
Yeah, but they take it a little too far. I think that ploy of, she's going to want to leave. She's going to go through withdrawals. Great, I'd buy it. But at a certain point, and I can't pinpoint exactly when, but I remember thinking, if I was there and shit's getting this fucked up, and, there's that book, that everybody's seen, everybody knows about, there's somewhere you kind of put two and two together and think, something off here. Maybe we should get the fuck out of here. And they do, at a certain point, the brother, who's boring character number one next to Natalie, boring character number two, he tries to get her out. And of course, the river, which is a callback to Evil Dead 2, I think, with the bridge that's...
Yeah, I guess it technically happens in 1 as well.
Does it? I don't remember it offhand. But that happened a little too late for me. I think people should have tried to get the fuck out of there a little earlier and kind of put things together a bit earlier. But hey, it's a horror movie,
I feel like this kind of came at a great time because of the fact that shortly after this, pretty much every single horror movie that came out was meta and had that like breaking down horror tropes. So it's like, I do kind of like that they still follow along. They're like, because most people nowadays, they would even call out like, oh, this is just like those dang possession movies where it's like, I don't want that in an Evil Dead movie. I want them to just be in the world. And so I like it, but also I get someone having a problem with it. It's not one of those things where it's like, it's such a like deal breaker of like, this is, if you don't like this, then you can't like this movie.
Well, it's dumb, and horror movies are filled with it. And I agree, I'm happy they didn't go meta with it and call themselves on it. It's dumb moves to serve the plot, just like the dude, reading a demonic book that says, don't read these lines, and he reads the lines.
Yeah.
So, she's, I don't remember, let's say vomiting and stuff like that. No, it's withdrawals, or pissing herself and saying you're all going to die tonight. Oh, it's withdrawals, with a shotgun. Oh, it's withdrawals. No, it's not withdrawals, man. Right?
Yeah, I should say too.
It's a horror movie.
My thought with the friends wanting to keep her there, it pretty much ends at as soon as Mia does the the wind and craziness. At that point, like, okay,
no, withdrawals, bro. Withdrawals. Actually, did you guys notice that when the spirit comes in, and I think it's that scene, and all that stuff, they actually took a line from the original Evil Dead, we're going to kill you one by one. The audio from the original Evil Dead, and then it cuts, and then she says, Mia, you're all going to die tonight. Did you notice that
it was mixed in the wind, a little low in the mix, but I wrote it down too because I was like, oh, that's kind of cool because it's not up front. It's, people like us will hear it, but I would bet most people wouldn't even notice it because it's kind of mumbled
Muffled
with all
in
the
the
one by one will take you.
nice little callbacks that I like, with Mia on the car, at the beginning. I think she's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Which is Sam Raimi's car, the necklace, the useless necklace with the magnifying glass, I think it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love
Yeah.
too. Mia's wearing the Michigan State
Yeah.
sweater. I always get a kick out of that.
So some nice callbacks.
I'm very glad we're now like 20 something minutes into this and I haven't bashed Evil Dead Rise once because I was a little worried that I would just be doing that the whole time, because even watching this the last time, it just reminded me of like, oh yeah, I wish Evil Dead Rise had, went as hard in the paint with like the gore as this one, or, as practical as this one. Just there was many reminders of like, oh yeah, I wish that it was more like this.
I didn't bash it because I forgot about it. That's no, I'm not kidding. I totally, until you just said it, I forgot Evil Dead Rise exists, and it's not like it was an awful movie or a bad movie. I sat down, I had a good time, but then I forgot all about it. Kind of like most of my ex-girlfriends, to be honest. So it's just how it was.
No, man, it's sad because all I want to do is have a good Evil Dead. And that's the first time ever that the series has ever in any way made me go like, eh. And I think what's worse about it is that it's not bad. If it was a bad movie, I think I could have a better time. But Tyler, you're right. As I'm watching this, I'm like, the tension, even take out the gore, just like her getting out of the car and crawling in the mud, and you hear like the noise. Like, okay, Evil Dead Rise had nothing like that. It's like, dude, come on. And it's funny because I've seen Fede Alvarez's other stuff. I think he's a very talented director, but nothing's really hit as hard as this. So it's like, maybe this was magic, right time, right place.
It was his first feature.
But how is that your best?
He had only directed the shorts before.
Because have you guys seen the Stephen Lang is actually, he's
Don't
really great.
Breathe. I haven't seen the sequel, but I saw Don't Breathe.
And it's like,
It didn't do much for me. No.
Yeah, I mean, besides him, I like him as an actor. I was very like, wait, am I supposed to be rooting against him? Because I hate the fucking kids more, Like, they make him a bad guy, but there's a home invasion. I'm like, well, I'm going to stick it for him. And then they, at the very end, they're like, oh, he's just keeping people in the basement. I'm like, eh.
Visual wise, I think, that's kind of what I view Fede Alvarez as is a visual director. It's actually kind of a reason why I'm a little worried about his Alien movie. And because I'm sure it'll look great visually, but then it's like, okay, well, the script needs to be there, because it's not like, from what we've seen from his movies, I think that, like you said, there's weakness in the scripts. Like in Don't Breathe, the characters are not great. The characters here are good because I think the script is really solid, but I think that had they not been, I don't know if Alvarez would have like course corrected based on some of the other stuff I've seen that he's done.
I'd argue that Jane Levy, though, carries a lot of it, because the other characters are fine. They're serviceable. They work. I think Jane Levy, I do think the whole movie is on her back.
Yeah.
Because her brother, a lot of times I'm like, he's fine.
He's there, yeah.
Yeah, I
he's
really
fine.
liked Olivia. Jessica Lucas. She's the one that tears into her face.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
same.
her. And I also, one aspect that we haven't talked about is I love the Deadites in this, and how we get a nice little transition with almost all of the characters where they get a little moment, and each of them I think they nail the performances.
Mm-hmm.
And especially I bring up Olivia, that Jessica Lucas, she's walking away from the bathroom, and then it's like takes her over, and she like then stops and like does this. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Olivia and Mia, those were the two where I'm like, yep, these two, just because they, performance wise, I enjoyed them.
Oh, I liked Eric. Poor guy, just read from a book and you guys are just tossing him aside. Oh,
I
man.
would have never expected someone to defend Eric.
Because I've read from a lot of books that say don't read. I don't know. I feel like you guys are doing the same. We're not just reading weird, crazy stuff. Nobody here is trying to bring demons in the world. I'm the only person that's flirting a little with the other side. Just me.
Absolutely. All I can think is I watch horror movies, and they almost work as like a textbook of like what not to do. Now I'm kind of viewing, how are you watching horror movies? Are you viewing them as like what you need to do in order to get these things to show up?
I'm just saying, I'll be honest, if we were in a situation where like people had like read from something or do, I would open the caskets I'd remove the helmet from the mummy. I'd read from the book. I would do all of it because it's like, let's see where this goes.
So you're Eric, basically, like Tyler said before. You
I
are
wanna
Eric.
Take it to the next level if we can. Let's play. I don't know. That's my personality.
I'm gonna now use you for inspiration whenever I'm like, okay, this character at this point. I'm gonna have email Lance, see what Lance would do in this situation.
I mean, if shit's already crazy, I wouldn't. But if we were all hanging out in a cabin and there was like some sort of chest that's like, don't open, I'd like, let's see what's inside.
But what if stuff starts going crazy? Like literally just starts.
Well, I live in a sea of regret, so it'd be like everything else in my life. Like, oh, should have done that. I'm very comfortable. I'm like, okay, well, just put that in a backpack and carry it.
That's a big fucking backpack, eh?
It's heavier by the day.
All right. Well, I feel like, oh wait, there is one last little thing I want to talk about is the Bruce Campbell cameo at the tease, the very end thing. Do you think that they actually intended on doing something with that and like teaming him up with Mia?
I don't think so.
No. I think it was
just for the fans. Yeah. And it was cool. It was, groovy being.
I liked it because it almost kind of shows like, okay, this is a sequel. Like it's not like this Ash exists in this world.
Yeah. No, I just saw it as a wink to the hardcore fans. That would stay till the end credits because, your casual viewers won't.
Yeah.
But the hardcore fans will. I do want to mention this. The demon comes out at the end, the last act. The demon comes out, it's raining blood, and the demon comes out. And I think he flips a truck over, and she
her hand,
Ash Styles. She has the chainsaw, but there's this beautiful medium wide shot, and she shoves that chainsaw in that demon's mouth, and then it goes. It's a gore party.
She say, "Eat this, taste this, motherfucker."
Feast on this motherfucker, and then jabs it in her mouth. I wrote it down. It's my favorite part. It's a cool shot too. You're right because it's very like aesthetic. They're like each on the side of the frame. It's fucking.
Yeah, it's static, if I remember correctly. I don't know how that movie got an R rating, man. I don't know how that movie got an R rating because just that scene alone, that bit alone. I'm not talking about the nail gun. I'm not talking about ripped out,
or the dog death,
or the dog death, or when getting hit with the crowbar. I felt every impact of that, But that scene alone, that's. NC-17, if that still exists, or X, which is usually for porn. God bless that movie for really going for the throat, really going for the kill. That movie basically says, we don't give a fuck, and we're going to go all in, and somehow it's studio backed, and somehow it gets an R, and somehow it gets a wide release. I don't know, man. You don't see that every fucking day,
Right place, right time, man. That's what I was saying earlier about I feel like the MPA is almost like YouTube at this point where some months it's like, oh, they're just cool. They don't give a shit. Then some months it's like, nah, has to go. Yeah. And that was a good era, man. I don't know. I feel like we're regressing a little. I think, I don't think it's as open in theaters as it was, but maybe that's just because nobody can make a movie anymore. I don't know.
Well, there's more VFX now. Evil Dead Rise, I saw a lot of VFX in it.
A lot of VFX, but also one thing I thought with this one is the sound design is incredible on so much of and that's why you mentioned the crowbar. It's why those things work so well. And yes, the practical effects add to it and help, but the sound I think is a big factor with and especially when what's his name, Eric's getting stabbed in the needle. The needle.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can hear it. So it's like which makes you feel it, which I think that's a big issue. Lance, you and I brought up how the cheese grater scene in Evil Dead Rise doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And I think so much of that is it's so quick. Make it slower, you can actually hear it. I feel like you can't even hear I want to hear the sound design
was not nearly as good in the new one. And I hate to keep bring it back to that, but I would almost say like a watered down drink. It's like it has something in there, but the person giving it to me doesn't give a shit, and not clearly it's no. This movie, all this movie does is make me dislike Evil Dead Rise more. It's like I feel bad, but it's like, dude, this is what I want. Why didn't we get more of this? This did well. Am I mistaken? I'm so confused why it took this long to get a sequel. I don't. Unless you guys know something I don't.
I assume Ash versus the Evil Dead. I assume that just kind of, since they were able to do that, I think because from what I remember, they had talked about the Mia and Ash Williams thing, But then Jane Levy stopped having interest in horror stuff, and then they went to the TV, like doing Ash versus the Evil Dead. That's what, from my understanding.
I think we talked about this, but I'll make it real quick. I don't want to see Mia and Ash ever together because they don't belong. Mia's from this intense, super serious, fucking crazy, awesome remake. Keep it in that world. Ash is goofy. Ash versus Evil is great because it's goofy. Because then she's got to change. And like, then what I loved about her was her grit. And so you can't, I know people disagree with me, but I don't want them ever to cross. I don't want Ash in any new series. Like let him play his old games. We could have more Ash in Sam Raimi, but I don't want them together.
I agree. Actually, I don't think it would. Especially how Ash grew. From Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Ash versus Evil Dead. It's tongue in cheek. It's funny. It's it's the Three Stooges on two legs.
Yeah,
and that's not gonna mix with the aesthetics and the mood of Mia.
Yeah.
Or the new Evil Dead movie. But no, it's a shame that after Evil Dead 2013, whatever the fuck happened to stall, because it was successful. It made money. So usually Hollywood, it makes money. They're back, a year and a half later with a sequel. So that it took this long to get a follow-up, which was Evil Dead Rise.
Just shy of $100 million gross.
Evil Dead Rise, I'm going to end my shit on Evil Dead Rise, to be honest. Well, it showed to me that it was made for streamers at first. It's the only Evil Dead movie I will never own. And it's an Evil Dead movie that, even though I enjoyed, like I said before, until you guys brought it up, I totally forgot it existed. So that says everything, for me, that I need to know about the movie.
Well, and so for Evil Dead 2013, what would you guys rate it?
10.
10?
Yeah. Even with the flaws, even with dumb moves to serve the plot. It carries so much impact. It's like you guys said, the sound design, that we didn't mention the score much, but the score was really, really effective. The score, performances, the visuals, the camera work, the gore, and the impact. 10.
Lance, I know you hate ratings, but I still am going to make you do it.
I mean,
9.
Here's the thing. Yeah, I've got to say 9 only because Army of Darkness is a 10, and this one can't sit on the same shelf.
They're different movies, dude. Different kind of movies.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel. How about this? I would say 9 or 10. 9 or 10. It just depends. But I mean, it's fine. I have no flaws. Like there's a section that me and John always do. There's nothing here because I absolutely love this. So that's I don't like ratings. So just take that what you will. But I think this is a perfect movie.
I'm in a little bit of a similar boat as Lance in terms of I always do the comparison thing. And to be fair, I only know this because I have a Letterboxd account. So that keeps track of all the ratings. I've only given out something like 80 10 out of 10s in my entire life. So I don't go with it's just something I avoid. I view 10 out of 10 as literally the absolute perfect film. So I would give this one a 9 just because as much as I do enjoy it, I have that weird thing that Lance does too, where I'm like, man, if I consider Army of Darkness a 10 out of 10, that it's just a weird hang up for me. But
I just have a lot of arguments in my own head. I just pretend that people that don't exist are arguing, so I feel like I'm always in fights. So it's I don't want to start a fight with an imaginary person. So
this episode has been very revealing for you, Lance.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. A lot of right. We're going to call him Merrick from now on.
Yeah, so it doesn't do anything wrong for me. Guy made some plans, just made a wrong mistake.
I just want to say, when it came out, I actually gave it an 8, and that was 10 years ago. And since then, movies have sucked so bad that I look at Evil Dead 2013 now, and I gotta give it a 10 but hey, there's always Barbie, right?
God damn it! I guess that's how we'll end this.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so thank you guys so much for joining me. And next week on the show, I'm going to have Chris Bumbray on to discuss Hereditary. So that should be a not so fun one, but it should be an informative one because Hereditary is a brutal movie. So I'm pumped to talk about that. And yeah, that's really all. Thank you for joining me again, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.